Will. Hello, warriors, especially crypto heads out there. We have a great guest today. Adrian, can you help me with the pronunciation of your last name? Give me a hand.
Oh man, try your best. Try your best.
Zduńczyk. Chick.
Close enough. Close
All right.
enough.
All right. Well, uh, I'm sure a lot of you guys know Adrian. He's very active on financial spots, Twitter. He's the chartered market technician for a group called the Burb Nest. Let me ask you, is Burb an acronym for something? BIRB?
Excellent question, Dale. And there's an actual story behind it. And because I
Okay.
ramble too often, I'll try to keep it short on my end, right?
Okay.
Most of the time, I basically, it's me, it's me kind of like asking the questions, and I do best what I'm best at, which is I stay shut up and listen to smarter people, right? So that's gonna be a challenge for me still. The burb nest and burb is a funny acronym. Is like a funny, well, not so much of an acronym. It's like a funny version of a bird, of a
Okay.
parrot, right?
Okay.
And since the bird nest is about the parrots, I'm a big parrot fan. I'll have three cockatiel parrots, and the logo of the bird nest is an African gray parrot, which are basically researched to be of the of the intelligence of the IQ of 3-year-old children. They
Hmm.
are super smart. They can recite poems. They can talk to you. They can solve puzzles, right? And they can order food while you're sleeping and calling Amazon Alexa, right? So that there is a lot of fun with them,
Huh.
and they are very playful.
Ever
And
have
Burb
one?
is like a funny.
Ever
Well, I
had?
wish, man. My wife would kill me.
Oh God. Keep them in the garage in your man cave so you can have someone to
I'd
talk
love
to.
that. Oh man, at least, right? At least.
All right. So,
Yeah. So Burb is a funny version for it. Yeah,
all
got it
right.
right.
All right, cool. Now I understand what burb is, and I'm not mispronouncing anything here. So, why don't you tell me what you were doing prior and what your first experience was in the financial markets?
Right on. Uh, First experience in the financial markets. Very good question. Uh, doesn't it sort of start whenever you receive your first money anyway, right? Don't you
Okay.
sort of like automatically join, and are absorbed into the financial markets in a way, in the market being the space, the institution between the people making transactions using those tokens, using those money. So I think, by answering that, the first encounter, that's going to be the childhood most likely. Otherwise, beforehand, before trading, my main background is a chemical engineering, right? So I'm a major in the master in chemical engineering. I did the studies and thesis on polymers, on graphene composites, right? On the on some boring chemistry stuff
Have you
at the
noticed
time.
how many engineers, no matter what the discipline is, yours was as a chemical engineer, have an affinity and are drawn into things like technical analysis because of their training, and that it's like almost a natural transition for guys that have
Might be,
engineering training?
might be the case. You're right. I
Because
mean, many
I've
engineers
talked to
actually are.
so many guys that started there as an engineer, and
Huh.
when I was a broker, I knew I had a good prospect that I could talk
Mm.
price with them, and they would get it. So
Yeah.
just something I've noticed over my 100-year lifespan. So,
Oh man.
all right. So, uh, chemical engineer, and you started making some money. Did you look at the stock market first, or did you go right into crypto? Tell us how that progressed for you.
Yeah. Right. Currencies in the first place, right? I started
Okay.
exchanging some currencies in the prospect of making some sort of like money with it. The first approaches, were simple sale, taking in the products and trying to sell them, for a little bit more expensive. So the very simple organic sale. And I dealt with different currencies at that time, right? And that was not a big thing. I tried to kind of like get a taste and sense of what is what in the space, right? On
Okay.
some e-commerce market stores. Otherwise, I was busy as well trying to build a startup with my friend. That was a subscription box, right? So that anytime you would order a subscription box, let's say on a monthly recurring basis, you'll get some sort of like smart gadgets in it, right? Being some funny dice that you can roll in your hand and just it's gonna relieve some stress.
Wow.
Or there were some let's say LED lights, that were so strong. The lighter was so strong and the LEDs were so powerful that they basically could light up the fire, right? So some smart gadgets that could be handy and useful. Still, I didn't eventually launch it, mainly after a year or so of pitching and kind of like wrapping the startup idea, along with my friend who actually got engaged into crypto and infected with crypto passion by his other friend, right? So I was kind of like left all alone, and I was that was early 2017. And even though before, in 2012, 13, I think my grandfather used to own Bitcoin because he was a trader. He was a day trader. He was betting on the football matches as well, and one of the ways to betting on the football matches was via Bitcoin, right? So there was some story behind
Okay.
this, which is
Interesting.
to some extent, questionable in terms of the profitability, though. That's
Right.
their thing. Otherwise, a lot of since I did the engineering studies, a lot of my friends were IT programmers, coders,
Yeah.
engineers, and they were, well, when I was busy studying, for my sessions, for my exam sessions, I remember them talking, some at the parties, about the Bitcoin, about some like other cryptocurrencies. But at that time, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna bother much with it since I've got a studies to finish anyway. So that's how it rolled on 2017 when I graduated from my first Warsaw school. Sorry, that was Warsaw University of Technology, or the Polytechnics. That
Okay.
was 2017 early, right before, or right actually when the biggest rallies on the altcoins, on the cryptocurrencies were starting, which was a good time to be in. Bitcoin
Your
was
co-
about
your
1,500
country
right now.
your country has become the economic miracle of Europe.
Oh, really?
Poland. I read so many
Yeah.
good
In
things.
what way?
Yeah, the economy, that it's
Hmm.
really beginning to it's come out of a long base and has been performing better than any other country on the continent.
Oh man, thank you. I
That
mean,
true?
there is to an extent, I guess, right? One of the ways is to observe the indices. There's VIG 20, that is, VIG 40. So like those WIG indices, that you can track.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the stock market is an emerging market, right? So it
right.
comes with a little bit of a bigger volatility. It's technology packed, it's gaming packed. So it's a rising market when the times are good. Just like for any other energy market. Emerging market.
How
It's
how is
risk
it how
seeking.
is how's the Zlotny done in the last few weeks with the dollar softening up? Has it appreciated against the dollar?
Yeah. So zloty, the Polish zloty, the
Yeah,
currency itself actually right now is about 3.96 against it's the USD PLN
yeah.
3.96. So the
Okay,
currency itself, it's bounced a little bit. It's appreciated just a little bit over the
okay.
past couple of days. Otherwise, it's been in a steady downfall for like a month. On a year-to-date basis, I think you know it's basically about 10% down or so. So you know, it's a
Because
good direction
I
maybe.
think there's a big bear market brewing in the dollar. So looking for alternative fiats might be worth
Might
taking a
be,
look at it. So I
yeah,
mean, your
might be
ultimate,
the case.
you don't fiat is baloney to you because it's fiat, right? Come on, tell me
Well,
the
not
truth.
so. You still need fiat, right? You still need fiat.
Okay, all right. So you haven't completely debanked from
No,
the
it's
world?
impossible, man.
Okay.
Impossible.
All right. So when did you decide, technically, did you have any influence early with maybe you had a mentor and you started looking at charts and you were motivated to go ahead and get your uh, become a CMT?
Oh man, I wish I had a mentor. I wish I'd had a mentor. Maybe I would have lost. I would have not ever lost, so much money basically because I've lost millions of stupid mistakes. There is a whole beginner trader cycle that I went through that everybody goes through. And eventually, there is the measure of accept. There is this in the grief cycle. If you fail, you know, there is the acceptance that is the most important because you get angry. You disbelief. You're falling for this cognitive dissonance and all those biases. Try to deny the reality, but then eventually you come up with conclusion that hey, I fucked up, right? So I need to fix
Yeah.
something wrong. That I need to right my wrong, and I need to do something about this. And one of the ways after accepting that, after having accepted that, is to educate myself, right?
Right.
And even Warren Buffett says, that the best investment you can make is investment in yourself because the more you learn, the more you will learn, right? So that's the quote that I sort of like often recite and and then get when I speak on the stages. Yeah, I didn't have a mentor. I wish I had. I started reading books. John Murphy, of course, about the technical analysis of financial markets. So it went deeper. There were some other, theorems, but back there, the books. Um,
So you're
um,
self-taught. You're self-taught until you went through the course. And
well, yeah,
that wasn't
yeah,
wasted time, that screen time, even though your P&Ls didn't work out. Um,
yeah.
I asked people how long it took to make a breakthrough um, to where you can be confident about pulling money out of the market on a fairly consistent
Yeah,
basis. How many years for you?
yeah. Well, I think that trading profitably, as in trading as an activity that yielded profitable returns outside of some lucky situations that I got myself into that crypto is full of. That was, I think, 2021 that it really sparked off, right? Because otherwise, beforehand, didn't really have too much, or sorry, I should say enough understanding about the trading systems, right? Because in the end of the day, not having a trading system and trying to play, trying to game the whole market is like throwing a dart blindly and praying that it hits the bullseye all the times, right? So it's a lottery. So it's impossible to keep
what do you
guessing
think
the
of
future.
this? What do you think of this? Hope is the oxygen in our lives and the carbon dioxide in our trading.
I love it.
Uh,
As a chemical guy, I love it.
okay. All right. So I want to congratulate you because, when I started following and seeing your stuff, you had like a $40,000 target on Bitcoin. We're pretty close. We're like, I call it close enough for government work. Um,
Uh,
do you stay in a trade looking for another $1,500 at a target, or do you take partials in case it doesn't get there?
got you. So see, as a CMT, right? They taught us, first of all, that taking profit when there is a strong trend is not necessarily the smartest idea because, well, it's mostly driven by loss aversion, by our fear of losing, right? But
Right.
this fear is fairly um backed only by the fear. It's emotional, right? Because if we take a look at the data, if we take a look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie, the chart that is counts all the possible information at a given time, then the data is fairly simple. 200-day average is moving up, right? And even though I do not necessarily rely on it in the systematic, way, I have another system, that is trend following and based on, based on the ATR related breakouts. Observing the trends in terms of trying to forecast anything, getting a little bit of a taste for what may be coming is observing the trends in terms of the trajectory, the slope, the aggression, the velocity of this, the momentum, and so on. And
Okay.
the trend strength is there. The
I'm
moving
big
average,
on
has
I,
been
I'm
rising
big
since
on
March.
momentum. I'm big on momentum. So it's a burden and a blessing because it does
There
probably
you go.
take me out of trends. But when I start to see non-confirmations of momentum with a market grinding like this, I trade a 3 drive to a top formation. But if you had the RSI or another momentum indicator here, uh, you would see there that we're diverging since that big spike up to about 35.
Yeah. Yeah.
Momentum is not going to, so that would worry me about staying long. It's not a get short signal, but it's telling me that we're making new price highs without momentum confirming. Do you take
Yeah.
that into consideration?
Uh, yes and no. I mean,
You don't have
indirectly, you know,
you won't hurt
momentum.
my feelings if you think it's hey hey you could say hey boomer, yeah, I know I know what you're thinking, boomer, but it's
It's
different
all
this
right.
time. Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. Listen, I respect. Listen, momentum investing, as in, you know, longing strength and shorting weakness. This is the most and the oldest documented technique that is profitable used by the financials, right? So it's
Yeah.
a 214 or 15-year-old strategy that is the oldest documented strategy for investment, basically, right? Even though it wasn't called at that time technical analysis. So you know, the momentum factor is there because it's like a big speeding truck. It's like the second Newtonian dynamics law, right? So if you
Okay.
push a force, you know, add a force to an object, to a body, to a car, to a big massive truck, then the bigger the truck is, in terms of the mass of it, and the bigger the force is, the bigger the acceleration, and the bigger the acceleration, you know, the less of a chance it stops anytime soon, right? So
Do you
that's a
yeah,
similar thing for
okay.
the markets in a way.
Do
So
you
momentum is just a technique.
yeah, it's a technique, it's for being tactical.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this. You go back and look at monthly charts and quarterly charts, and what do you mainly trade off of? And if you have a comment on the chart I have up, I'd like to hear
Yeah.
it. And I'll go to the next one.
Yeah, by all means. So my time frame is 12 hours. I take positions, you know, as a trend follower, I'm wrong about 70% of the time that I on the trades. But then there's the risk management, you know, techniques that I said that I like I said I based on ATR, like a triple ATR, you know, um that is helping you kind of, and it's an adaptive ATR, so you can adapt it and it adapts to the market volatility. So you know, I trail my stops as a trend follower. I don't take any profits. I get stopped. That's
Right.
you know, that's my job, right? So when someone asks me
Okay,
what I do
cool.
for a living, I say I lose money for a living because I lose most of the time. So that is one thing, right?
It's a
For
great
watching
one.
other charts,
Yeah.
for watching, you know, other like monthly candlesticks and so on. I use it for context. I use it for fun. I use it for explaining things,
Okay.
right? I use it for like a general overview.
Yeah.
Still, for trading, I'm gonna use the trend following again based on the ATR volatility related tools.
Okay.
So it's
Are these
different. And
proprietary? Sounds like you're a coder.
yeah,
Did
this is
you?
custom.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Custom, yeah, proprietary.
you're very multi-dimensional, Adrian.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank you.
here's
There are so
your
many smarter people.
here, yeah, it's not about being smart, it's about what's in our head. It's our isn't really it all about psychology?
It is. It is. You're right. And just like you're displaying the second chart, right? If you
Yeah.
turn back there for a second, to the previous one, you know, that's where the volatility at the bottom is. That's where the RSI on top is as well, right? So I do observe the momentum. I do observe the volatility in those terms, right? So on top, outside of the price action in the middle and the 200-day moving average, which is quite
Yeah.
explicitly rising, defining the bull market lasting since March. That is irrefutable, undeniable. There is a trend, you know, there is an overlay of an ATR at the bottom, average true range, which is the way that we technicians, you know, measure volatility, not like a standard deviation, annualized standard deviation, you know, like the fundamental guys.
Yeah.
That is, you know, it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just, you know, different angle, and both can be profitable. Still, the 50-day trend is an overlay of the indicator of the dots up there. So as long as the volatility rises on average, except for local noise, you know, then it's all right. I mean, the trend is getting better, stronger, right, in those terms, because the volatility encourages the trend. So it encourages the momentum, and it encourages the trend strength in a way as well. So it's good that the 50-day volatility is rising.
As
Since
long as
it's
it stays
50-day.
above this line, Adrian, would that change if it fell beneath this moving average? Down here, the bottom box.
It's more of a, for qualitative study, it's more of a direction that I use, right? It's okay if it just collapses, just for a second, it turns back, for instance. A lot of whipsaws, a lot of noise. So I try to ignore the noise and just catch the signal. Otherwise, RSI is up there. It's stalled a little bit more. So the momentum is slowed, obviously, as the trend has slowed, the velocity of the trend has slowed. Which is, again, what Bitcoin most often does, right? But it most often chops around 70-80% of the time, just move sideways, and it chops me out, gets me on the whipsaws. And otherwise,
and then you have those big days like the breakout. Bitcoin turned up before rates peaked, before the dollar peaked, and before we had a huge rally in equities. It almost seems like it's the one sniffing out the liquidity first.
Well,
you notice it?
Well, yeah. I mean, many people. There is my good friend Mike McGlone as well. He's a Bloomberg Intelligence senior strategist.
Okay.
What they say is they take Bitcoin into consideration as a risk appetite sentiment measurement, right? In a way, sentiment indicator. Because if there is, obviously Bitcoin is has been mostly for gambling, for no matter what the reasons. It's maybe changing a little bit, the whole stigma, because the BlackRock and all the other ETFs are joining, which is a good thing. Otherwise, it's been a let's call it a gambling vehicle for too many people.
Let's bring in all the pirates. Since we have parrots, let's bring in all the pirates. All right.
That's it. That's
okay.
It.
All right. So let's go to how about this? You also look at seasonals.
Yeah, man. This is such an excellent chart. This is by Jeff Hirsch. And Jeff Hirsch is a person I've looked up to for a long time, man. He's Jeff. Do you know Jeff, by the way?
Was he in one of Jack's books, Market Wizards? Jeff Hirsch?
Might be. Yeah, Jeffrey Hirsch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeffrey Hirsch. Jeffrey Hirsch and his father, Yale Hirsch, as well.
Oh, I see. See, I remember I remember his father.
Yeah, exactly, right? So Jeff and his father basically were Jeff and his father were the people who actually, discovered the seasonal patterns in the first place, like January barometer, for instance, as January goes, so goes the year. Some of the stuff, in the past, worked without being discovered in a way. And they did manage to framework this somehow, right? So they managed to build a framework around this in a seasonal discovery in the form of a calendar, averaging seasonal trends, and getting actual intelligence from the market behavior. By just observing the market itself, which is the exquisitely, beautiful thing. And I read a lot of studies, and I was, Jeff always puts up this stock traders almanac, commodity traders almanac, those actual cheat sheets, in the form of the calendar for the markets and for the seasonal patterns. And I appreciate it so much because it actually corresponded so well with the 2022 midterm bear market that it did, with the 2023 pre-election that is about 95% of the time positive over the past 84 years or something. So there is a lot of seasonal truth to it that, without realizing, it goes unnoticed, and that can be very profitable in terms of
tell me if context. I'm reading it right. Does that mean that, like, in early December, there could be some type of peak and correction?
Well, of course, it can be.
Well, right? I'm looking at the seasonal pattern that, it goes from 80 to 50.
Yeah, might be the case. See, so, first of all, Santa Claus rally, right? Most important point in the chart is that Jeff and I had put together the first ever Bitcoin seasonality article, right? Because when I talk to the hedge funds, Dale, when I talk to all those institutions, to all the banks, to all the, I advise to the Minister of Finance in my country as well on the Bitcoin side. So whenever we talk, that it is very often prejudiced, right? Because it doesn't fit in the traditional stock market model. So they like, because it doesn't generate any cash flow, it's not centralized, it means it's worthless. It means that it has no value, right? But then if you kind of like conservatively approach it because it doesn't fit into any traditional stock market model, you're actually falling for a bias that otherwise an 18-year-old coin flipping kid does, right? Because you reject the reality, or reject the facts. You fall for the representativeness. You take a small sample of data, as in some sort of like a tiny local crash, or you take a COVID crash and you say, "Hey, I told you it's gonna crash, right? I told you it's gonna crash. It's worthless." Nobody talks about it then even that Bitcoin, actually since those 4-year halving events, that next one comes for the fourth halving in April, that after the halving, Bitcoin always rallied super hard, and we're talking like 90x, 9,000%. Next one was 3,000% to the peak, 700% to the peak, right? So this is an opportunity cost of being prejudiced. We're talking about deliberately missing out one of the best performing assets in history by just ignoring the facts and by relying on prejudiced information, right?
Keep an open mind.
So
keep your account open.
Exactly. So we created the article to talk to them because I figured they're not gonna listen to me, because why would they? And I'm pretty happy about this. We can talk with numbers. So we put together the article and the numbers, and the chart that you showed right beforehand, the seasonal pattern, is a chart that Jeff did by taking the 1-year seasonal pattern of Bitcoin from the past cycles. And what it matters and why it matters is that, first of all, there are several seasonal patterns that we discovered. One is that you should remember to buy in September. September is the only losing month on average for Bitcoin, 6.5% negative gain. That's the only one, right? The next one in the queue is August, although it's mainly floating break even. So September is the best month for buying long term, and we released this article on 26th of September, which is the worst day seasonally of the worst month, right? So there was a purpose in releasing that. And ever since, Bitcoin has basically grown about 60-70%. Right. So remember to buy in September worked. And even more importantly, it shows you how well it tracks NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin is becoming a little bit of like a more volatile high beta version of a tech stock, of a NASDAQ.
And it led the NASDAQ. And I'm making a conclusion that it's Mo is stalling. And you look at NASDAQ, and it didn't happen at the same time. Bitcoin was the first. About a week early was this breakout before the NASDAQ bottom. NASDAQ bottomed in early November or the end of October.
Yeah.
So to me, it looks like momentum is stalling in Bitcoin, and it's starting to stall in the market. And to me, I used to poo-poo all the correlations to NASDAQ, but I'm starting to think that I can look at Bitcoin as a leader for inflection points. Do you think that is something that is valid? Have you seen it happen more than once? Lead the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole thing is that it changes. It's dynamic, right? The correlation changes, it fluctuates. There are some specific crypto related events that just crash and leave NASDAQ untouched, unbothered. So it changes, although the trend is irrefutable and the trend is rising in terms of the correlation. And ever since 2015, 8-year span, the correlation of on the very long-term basis, like a 200-week average, the growth of it is actually 400%, the correlation, right? The correlation coefficient. So very strong directional strengthening of a correlation, positive. So Bitcoin is becoming more and more like NASDAQ in those terms. You're right.
Yeah. So I think we're peaking here. You're very interesting and humble.
Oh, thank you.
You're humble. I got humbled by getting kicked in the teeth a few times. It still happens occasionally. I still you know,
Really?
far,
Really?
far from perfect. Yeah. Yeah. You know, like you could get
Wow.
on a run where you're wrong. Usually
Wow.
happens at a shift of things, and we had a shift in the last month. So do you think a bear market in the dollar is going to accelerate people moving into Bitcoin? Because I think we're in one now. Do you think the dollar plays any
I got
role
you. I
in
got you.
Bitcoin?
It does. It does. It does. Since Bitcoin is, denominated and it can be denominated in dollar, in those terms. So it does. The dollar bear market, if you will, which is something that probably would ease a lot of markets, right?
Yeah,
The
a
bear
lot.
market, well, the dollar is correlated mostly with the interest rates, right? And what the Fed fund
Yields.
rate is. If
Yeah,
the yields are high, and they are, right, at historically high levels in terms of the pace and of the growth, in terms of the levels themselves, the yield curve inversion is still performed, the deepest level since 1970s, right? So 50-year depth. We're kind of like where we reached and tested 40 years, 50 years. So a lot of records, a lot of things that were not seen in half of a century. Um, overall, again, first of all, we take everything with a grain of salt because we can never be ever sure about anything in the future, right?
right.
There's this uncertainty that should be factored in. And
Everything
it's
and
and it's okay.
anything
We
can
don't need to.
happen. Everything and anything can happen. Will happen.
That's it. That's it. That's it. We don't need to kind of like pretend that we know everything, because it's impossible. Again, it's impossible to win the lottery guessing the future every day.
I, you
Still,
know,
in terms
I
of,
think the most
yeah,
important word, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you,
there you go.
is next
Next.
in our
What do you mean?
lives and in trading. Next,
Why
don't
would
dwell
you say
on the
so?
last trade. Don't
Um,
celebrate it. Don't go fetal. It's just another trade. Next,
yeah, yeah, man.
where it's
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
important. The outcome's not as important to you. Oh, I really need this trade to work for me so I could buy this or go there or do this. That
Yeah.
you want to get to the
Well,
point where,
you're an OG. You're an OG. You're an old
listen,
guardian, up there.
oh, okay. I thought you were
You're
going to
an
say
very, very
old.
experienced.
I thought it stood for old goat.
No, no, no. It does for old guard, right? You're
Yeah,
an OG. You're a very experienced veteran, in the space. So you're right about that, right? The next thing,
yeah, yeah,
is just the next thing, right? It's
yeah.
not anything different. You're so right about that.
So,
Consistency.
so tell me about what you do for traders. I know that you have a deadline that we're approaching. Tell us about the bird nest, and do you mentor people, Adrian, or do you
Oh,
have rooms where people interact? I'm a big
oh,
believer
thank
in
you, Dale.
communities. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Dale. Yeah, you're awesome. And again, huge shout out to you, and then a big round of appreciation for getting me on the show. I think it's so much needed. So many more people should actually recognize how awesome of a person you are, Dale. And
Oh
I've
gosh.
watched some of the stuff. I watched some videos of yours, and it's awesome. And it's awesome. So huge, hats off to you.
Wow.
For the Burb Nest, for what is what. The Burb Nest, is a reliable trading community that is trusted by thousands since 2017, unlike all the other scammers, all the other fake gurus and self-proclaimed experts that this space is so full of, right? And it
Yeah.
sucks because, again, when I talk as a crypto person, let's say tomorrow I'm actually orange pilling and talking in front of the banking sector, like all those bank leaders and the directors and so on, and I'm gonna pitch Bitcoin to them, and this immediate stigma that I have on me is that I'm a scammer, right? That
Yeah.
the crypto is full of scammers, and it's more, for most of the part it is, right? However, at times there are those players, there are those real people, those real dedicated souls that actually commit a lot, and many of those happen to be in our community. You're right. My team, I'm so lucky to have those incredibly smart people on my team, right? There's a team 12 people, that share the same passion. On top of the trading, they are, different sort of like professionals, the graphic visual designers, excellent trading psychologists for what is what professionally, right? They are
Surround yourself
excellent
with
architects.
traders who are better than you, is what I tell
Oh
people.
man, excellent, excellent. I take this quote. I steal this quote.
You got it, buddy. You
um,
got it.
yeah, yeah. So the Burbness has always been like this hub, this this place where people come, because at the end of the day, we as the Burbness, we believe in the world where financial freedom is actually available for everybody everywhere, right? It's not that you are kind of like, again, just, let's say, fucked. Sorry, pardon my
Yeah,
French, right?
it's all
Fucked
right.
literally because you are from another country or so. Like, no matter the country you're from, you should have at least a chance to decide if you take the financial freedom or not. Because for most of the time, a lot of people do not even manage to reach out, right?
They're
So
risk
the
averse.
Burbness is like this, exactly. So the Burbness is like this, voice of reason, a reliable voice of reason that is, again, licensed, fully regulated, run by the book. There's full compliance, full trust, reliability. It's licensed, like I said, charter market technician. There are only 3,000 people with this title in my country. Sorry, in the world, and it sucks because I'm the only one in my country holding this title, and it makes me feel responsible for it, because at the end of the day, I got to see certain. I received this blessing and a gift of community, this incredible people that often, uh at least per what they say, they appreciate the work. So I feel responsible for delivering and being this voice of reason for those people who actually keep getting wrecked all the time, who keep blowing up their accounts, who keep working, 9 to 5, and they don't even have reliable education anywhere, because this space is so filthy and so full of scammers.
Yeah.
So anything you read most of the time is a scam, right? It's like some stuff written without any sort of like authorization by people who shouldn't be even reading this, writing this. So it's very important to weed out all those trolls, right? And the Burbness, and even though I take no salary from it, I make money trading. I don't take any salary from it. We have all those incredible people, and reinvest the business, reinvest in the business, and it's been rolling, 7 years already, almost. So
Nice.
it is the seventh year that is we are actually gonna celebrate the very sixth anniversary since the foundation in 27th December, and we're gonna start the seventh year, which is a big achievement, right? For all those COVIDs, wars, and ups and
Yeah.
downs, bull markets, bear markets.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do it. We do commit to this vision by actually, giving the people everything they need, right? Those can be, the actual good indicators. Those can be proprietary strategies. Those can be one-on-one mentorships, right? And even though I do not necessarily commit to it myself anymore, my team takes care of the people, and they take the best, most excellent care, even better than I could, right? Of their
Isn't it
mentees.
great to see people you taught outperform you?
Oh man, always
Huh?
easy, always,
You know,
always.
I have a lot of respect for your mission to help people avoid the landmines we've already stepped on. And
Oh, thank you.
and you're now my trading warrior brother after surviving
Oh,
my interruptions for the last half an hour or
that's
so.
smart.
Huh?
That's smart. That's smart. That's smart. I love Dale. I love your sense of humor. I love your charts. I love your approach. I love your honesty. I love your transparency. And I think many more people should be able to recognize how much of an excellent person you are. And then you're living in this beautiful spot of, San Diego, California, which is excellent and beautiful, and such an excellent food that
Yeah. Well, you know
you
what?
deserve all the glory.
I hope one day you and I get together and have pierogi together.
Uh, I'm gonna bring them. It's on me.
All right, Adrian, thanks so much for hanging out with me and batting the ball around. I
Oh
enjoyed it
man.
thoroughly.
Thank you
And
so much,
everyone,
Dale. You're awesome.
check Adrian out at crypto_burb. Go to Burb Nest if you want a community that specializes in this. It's important to uh, I think, have a specialty. I think you could look at too many things. Decide what suits your personality. That's what Jack Schwager said. So, Adrian, have a great holiday season. I hope that we could get together and talk about it down the road.
Oh man, thank you so much, Dale. It's been a pleasure. God bless you as well and your family. Take
Uh,
care.
Thank you so much. And remember, everyone, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios.
Beautiful.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
buddy.
Thank you.